Welcome to our second webinar, AI in Service Cloud. Today, sessions will be diving into the landscape of artificial intelligence and its impact on Salesforce Service Cloud. My panel of today is Thomas Teunen, Head of E-Commerce at Forward and also AI expert, and Jan Verbrugge, Director Solution Engineer at Salesforce. As in the previous sessions, you can always ask questions and we will answer them as soon as possible. Let's embark on this journey. Welcome Jan, welcome Thomas.
Hello.
Thank you. Thank you.
AI is, since the announcement at Dreamforce, the big thing in Salesforce ecosystem. So what is Salesforce strategy about AI?
Well, first of all, it has been a big announcement at Dreamforce, but the reality is that actually already for many years, Salesforce has been working on AI, be it not generative AI, what is all the fuzz about nowadays, but we have been working for many years amongst others, but predictive AI already in the space of service as well, where we have, case prediction and that sort of functionalities that we have built in. But nevertheless, I think at Dreamforce, and I think continued since then for the last couple of months, Salesforce has indeed put a lot of effort in making AI accessible to everybody and every business. And I think service in particular is one of the areas where artificial intelligence will have a huge impact over the next couple of months and years to come.
How can AI help organizations transforming the customer service strategies?
Oh, I think there's many areas that AI can help, right? I think if you look at what it could mean for our customers, I think, right, it's definitely going to help them in getting a better service, faster, quicker, and more personalized. I think, and even more important, I think, is what it will mean for the people that work in customer service, right? The customer service representatives, supervisors, and managers. I think I like to refer to it as augmenting the experience of all these users. Artificial intelligence will make some of their work easier, faster, and help them in having a more empathetic approach towards the service processes. A great example of that is, right, when you want to have a chat conversation, the agent, the artificial agent will suggest some reply recommendations, so you don't have to type that, and you can already start thinking about the solution of the problem at hand rather than what to type to the customer.
So the fear that customers have or agents that AI will take their jobs is not realistic?
I don't think so, no. Salesforce has a very important principle that we call humans in the loop. We believe that this generation of artificial intelligence is not yet at its, let's say, maturity that you can unleash it to the humans without somebody else in the loop. I think its strength at the moment is really where it will help, as I said, augmenting the experience for people, but still have the people controlling it, right? Check for its accuracy, look if there is no bias or if there's no toxicity or whatever in there, so that the answers are right to use.
Maybe a question for you both. How do you balance the use of AI with human touch in customer interactions and keep it personalized and empathic?
Well, if you look at AI and how do you find the right balance between both of them, is that it's more for inspiration and also to augment the experience on both sides. If you look at historically, AI has been around for quite a long time, but it was more statistical, it was very technical, it would give you sheets to work with, but it was not really a human-like interaction. And with the generative AI addition, it has become a lot more human-like, but as mentioned before, it's not at that level that you could have very long conversations with it and it would deeply understand what you're doing. And that's where the person still has to verify and look like, what is this answering? How can I improve it? It's good for inspiration and to maybe set the first conversation part can be done by AI, but sometimes someone is going to have to intervene and take over because the AI is not handling it correctly. And that's where the human really is necessary, especially with bias, as mentioned before, and also the thing that they call hallucinations. And that's where control really needs to come in. The prompt engineers, the grounding of everything that's happening with real data of the customer. And that's where real people will need to make sure that that grounding is set correctly and that the world brain, the internet brain is shut down and not start hallucinating about things that aren't real and confusing the customer. And we're not at a level yet that we can just say, here's a bot, it'll handle the case perfectly. That we're nowhere at a level there, and that's where the human interaction is really, really necessary.
Yeah. I would even say that the ones that have tried it, and there have already been some use cases in the media recently where indeed some companies have tried to let an artificial generative AI bot onto the public, and they have been hit very badly with experiences that where the bot actually started to mimic the behavior of the customers, and that's not what you want. So I think it's indeed super important for this generation of Gen AI at least that you keep the people close. I think the if you look at the business case as well, right? Because with AI, you always have to look at what is the value that it brings to me as a business. If you look at support staff, right, there's two things it can do very well. One is remove boring tasks, right? Repetitive answers, always repeating yourself or giving the same answers can be actually done by a bot very easily. The second thing is with intellectually challenging tasks, it actually can help by pushing the right information, by giving better and more accurate data, or even help in the judgment of the engineer, for instance, in a support case. That's the real strength, where it will avoid certain tasks to be executed by a human, or where it will speed up the process of the execution of the task, right? Avoiding use case and the speeding up of the process.
Yeah, if you look at the speeding up of the process, something that AI can do very well is summarization. Yep. You give it a lot of data and it will give you a quick overview of the customer, and that's where it's going to help service agents really well. Like someone calls, the screen opens, and suddenly you already get a summarization. Hey, this person has placed an order of this product and has made a return for this. You can already start assuming, oh, with that data, I know that it's probably going to be about that return, and speed up the process, not just for the agent, but also for the customer, that they are helped quickly and that they feel like they're understood with what is happening. And this can now happen in a more human-like interaction. You're not just clicking buttons to get all the information and it's tables for the service agent. No, it's a readable text that someone else might have written. And that is really helpful, and makes it also easier for onboarding new service agents, because they do not have to know where the data is coming from. As long as the people who've built and grounded all of the AI interactions know that the data is being fed to the AI is correct, that will also speed up new people into the process.
If you look, Salesforce is not just implementing AI or Einstein GPT, it has also its trusted layer. Can you explain a little more what is the trusted layer?
Yeah, and I think this is fundamental in the approach that we take towards AI, right? I think when we look at some of our competitors and other organizations, they have a different approach. But for us, trust is the number one value, right? And I think it's important that companies, when they embark on the route with artificial intelligence, they can trust the application, right? The technologies. In order to do that, I would say that there is two main components, right? One is obviously the AI technology with the large language models, right? It's, if you want to, the brains of the artificial intelligence that is evolving very rapidly as well. So we want to make sure that the right artificial intelligence engines can be used, and the ones that will come, and they come very fast, one after another. We want to make sure that we have an open platform for people to use the right technology at the right moment. But I think the second part, and that's more important in that trust principle, is the data, right? First of all, for AI to be successful, you need to have data to feed into the machine, right? What we call grounding. And obviously, right, a lot of that information is sensitive information. It's your customer data, it's your product data, it's your company information, and you just don't want to throw that into the public area for anyone then to use that afterwards, right? You want to protect it. You want to make sure that the data you feed into the system is accurate. But at the same time, when the generation has taken place and you want to use the information by the AI machine for the use cases in service, for instance, you also want to make sure that you can trust that data. You already mentioned hallucination, right? If I ask something, generative AI systems are made to come up with something, whether it's right or wrong. You need to have the proper tools in place to identify, to say, okay, does that match reality? Is this something that is actually going to be helpful? Is this something that is in line with, for instance, or corporate principles or legislation or whatever? So trust is super important, and it has to be met with the right access to data.
Cool. Now that we know what it is, there is also a how to come to there. I can understand it will not be 2 clicks away. So can you provide some advice for organizations looking to go to AI with your experience?
I would say, strangely enough, yes, it is a few clicks away. The way that we have set it up, I called it the democratization of AI. The whole philosophy for Salesforce has always been, since the beginning, is making sure that companies who want to benefit from artificial intelligence, whether it's predictive or generative, does not require an army of AI experts and so on. We want to make it such that indeed the data that you already use in Salesforce, like for instance the knowledge management systems or the case information and some of the data that sits in maybe your commerce or your marketing cloud, can already be used in generating, for instance, a reply in a chatbot. So yes, it is actually something that can be quite easily set up with some of our first out-of-the-box functionalities that we have. A great example is an airport in the United Kingdom at the moment was able in a matter of weeks to actually have the speed of which agents were able to reply to chat messages almost reduced by 75%, because with a very simple setup, the replies were automated and then only had to be validated by the agents. But I think that's the starting point, right? I think the real power of AI lays into understanding your individual business processes so well that you can then start building what I would call custom AI use cases, which Salesforce has what we call the prompt builder for it, right? So we'll be able to provide to the users in the applications very specific AI answers that what we call a co-pilot will be able to provide them, right? And there I would say it's all about understanding your processes, look what data you have available, and then start experimenting, in a very agile way, as often is done in a Salesforce environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's why it's very important to get your data into the system to make sure that it's able to use that information. And the second thing is that the information that you're giving it is also the voice that you want the AI to use. If you're looking at use cases of email generation, chat message generation, generally as a business, as a brand, you have a voice that you want to keep, and you want to make sure that the AI doesn't use the general voice of the AI model, but more what you're giving it. And that's where the prompt builder or any system that you put in between will make sure that the AI knows that that is the voice that you want to use by examples in the grounding that you're putting up to make sure, here's some examples of how I want you to reply to in this tone, in this voice, to make sure that everything that's generated is as close as it can be for someone to then take over and use that in the email, as an email, for example. So it automatically generates a reply. You can read it, and if it's already in the tone that you're expecting, that's a lot less work than you have to do then and rewrite the entire thing. Like, okay, the information in here is correct, but this is not the voice that we want to give to the customer. And that's why the grounding and that prompt building is very important. And that's where the human, again, comes in to set up all of these different prompts within Prompt Builder. And then people who are not as skilled into the prompting can just use that information and those prompts in an easily fashion within the system.
To make a recap, if I understand it correctly, you can start very fast with the out-of-the-box AI solutions. But of course, you also need to think about your data. Is that correct? Does I have all the data in my system? Maybe also the right tools. I think about knowledge articles. Is that already activated in my org to work with? How do you see the future evolution of AI in customer service?
I think there's two sides to it. I think one is the what I would call the agent co-pilots, right? They will become more and more powerful as they get access to more and more data and learn more and more actions that agents take in their day-to-day life. And again, that's why it's important to really work closely with your agents in defining the actions that a pilot might have to take. So I think this is where definitely is going to be huge areas of improvements. I think also beyond just creation of answers and replies, I think the power of the Salesforce platform with access to all its data is going to be able to execute on multiple levels transactions in Salesforce, but also outside of it, right? A great example is, if you are a financial institution, you want to have an onboarding of a customer, you could actually instruct the co-pilot to do all these actions on your behalf, whilst you then have time as a support agent to, for instance, inform the customer about the new product. So it brings a lot of value to both the agent and the company. I think that the other part of it is where we will see a huge increase is bringing, where I said initially it's still, human in the loop. Once the applications become more and more, let's say, trusted to be put in front or in the hands of a customer, I think that's also where we will have more, avatar-like experiences where people will speak to a virtual agent and get the same transactions done with a virtual agent as they would have with a real agent. But again, I think that's still a little bit ahead of us yet.
What challenge can a team face during an AI implementation, and how can they solve it to overcome it?
Well, I think the biggest challenge is the data. I mean, an AI engine that does not have any data it's going to use the world brain, start hallucinating. So as it's always been for a long time, collecting data is a very important process to get the AI to do what you want it to do. If you don't have data, so that's the focus. I mean, generative AI is getting a lot of attention right now, but there's a lot more to the entire experience than just the generative AI. We have the collection of data, processing of that data, and also the AI that's not getting as much as attention needs to be fed correct data, and the combination of those AIs is where the real power lies. And it's not, it's a complicated thing, of course. If you look at the generative AI, it can be set up, but everything that has to happen in front of it needs to be well thought of. What do you want to achieve? What data are we going to use to achieve what we want to do? And that needs to be clear to everyone, all of the stakeholders that want to use that AI, that it's going to do what they expect it to do. And you really need to think about, what do we need to have before we start. It's getting all of the attention right now, but there's a lot of things happening beneath the surface, and that's going to require a lot of attention, a lot of processes to be worked out, and a lot of work.
Yeah, I agree, and I think everybody sees it already today, right? I think when I started playing around with ChatGPT almost a year ago now, right, I was super excited. But then very quickly you realize, hey, this is not perfect, right? Or the information that gets back to me is not accurate. Can I really trust it? And I think that is, the disillusion of AI is probably the biggest pitfall for a lot of companies. They will probably start with a huge expectation onto it, not having the proper tools and the proper expertise in their environments, and they will very quickly get disillusioned, right? So for me, my advice would be, don't overcomplicate it, right? Start with something small, something tangible, something that creates value. For sure, make sure that your agents are involved, right? Because you mentioned it, does it replace the agent? No, but if they don't see what it will bring, they will expect that, and you might have some issues on that side as well, and also on the customer side, right? Before you leave, let's say, Gen AI Copilot bots to your public and your consumers, start already with regular bots, right? Make sure that they are used to a conversational engagement with these machines in a way, without already having the full generative AI. So I think there's a lot of work to be done. It's super challenging and but also interesting at the same time, right?
Are there key or KPIs that you can monitor to measure the success of AI?
AI without a purpose is futile, right? You need to have a business case. You need to look into that, and then obviously it's normal that you measure success of AI on some of the outcomes, right? So you could obviously look at some efficiency measures, like the average handling time of a call, the time to the first time right. These are some measures that you can say definitely will indicate the performance aspect of AI. But I think more important is also that you look at some more qualitative measures like Net Promoter Score and CSAT, because is AI not impacting the personalization of your engagement with the customers, right? So you still need to make sure you balance that between efficiency and still keeping a personalized customer service, and therefore I think both KPIs are needed.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, the quality and the experience that the customer has with your brand is, for me, the most important KPI. You can speed up your case management, the amount of cases that you can handle within an hour. But if your CSAT scores go down because they're not having the experience that they're expecting from you, if you were a brand that was very personal, talk to people via phone, and suddenly they have to interact with email and chat, and that is not something that they're used to, then the scores are going to go down. They're going to maybe notice that it's an AI response, and they're feeling they're not getting the attention they used to. So those are all things that you need to watch out for. So amount of cases handled, great metric. How quickly can they handle a case? But really, the experience of the customer for me is what really matters. And if they are happy, then I would say it's a success. If the happiness increases, well, perfect.
Yeah, I think it's a personal question. It's okay, now that machines are speaking with machines, that you have all this AI, how do you know that when you're interacting with an email, that there is a human really talking to you?
Does it matter?
I don't know.
I believe, right, it's all about the customer experience, right? We had a customer on stage at Dreamforce that said, the intelligence may be artificial, the engagements can't, right? The engagements need to be personal. Now, if artificial intelligence gets very close to that personalized and empathetic approach, great, so be it. But the reality is, with today's technology, you still need the combination of both, right? So I would say be open and honest as a company whenever you have AI front-ending your channels, right? Don't hide it. And I think then you're good.
Mm-hmm.
I think, of course, the couple of years we will hear AI all the time. It will be the big thing for every release of Salesforce. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Thomas, for this interesting session. Thank you for the audience to watching us. And see you on our next session about multi-cloud communication channels in Service Cloud.